Hello and welcome to the video lecture on database recovery. Again, a huge important topic when it comes to database management systems. I'm going to say this again. You, on a personal level, should be backing up your data in some way, shape, or form, if not on a daily basis, on a regular basis. So, database recovery, there needs to be a mechanism for restoring a database quickly and accurately after some kind of a loss or damage. And that whole concept of quickly and accurately has a varied range that can be attained. Remember, to be very, very quick and very, very accurate usually means very, very expensive. So depending on the organization's risk analysis and how much data can be lost, but remember, not every corporation is Citibank, not every corporation is the New York Stock Exchange. Some organizations do have a tolerance for data loss. Depending on how much it's going to cost to be able to quickly and accurately recover. For basic facilities associated with database recovery, one is the backup facilities itself, making backups of your data, journalizing, which is keeping track of changes to the database in between backups. A checkpoint facility, which could cause either a backup or a journalizing event to happen, and a recovery manager, some facility to keep track of how often backups are done, how often journalizing has happened, and how many checkpoints have happened. So that's what the recovery manager keeps track of. We're really not going to get too much into the recovery manager. But when we talk about backup facilities, this is some kind of database management system copy utility that either copies the entire database or a subset of the database. So depending on your situation, you may not be able to bring down your entire database and back it all up, which is what's known as a cold backup. So we shut down the database, we back everything up, then we bring the database back up. Obviously, if you're a 24/7 operation, you just can't bring your database down and then then back it up. So you have to back it up piecemeal, which is known as a hot backup, where you take bits and pieces here or there, you back it up, and so the database itself never actually goes down, and then it's, all right, how often do I do my backups? Do I do it nightly? Do I do it hourly? Do I do it weekly? And again, that depends on the resources you have available. Backups, of course, should be stored in a secure offsite location. Why? For instance, your personal information. Let's just look at your personal information. So now you've got your personal computer, Mac, whatever kind of machine you're using, tethered in your house that has, all your pictures. Well, what would you do if you lost all your pictures, right? So you want to back them up. You know your hard drive's going to crash. It's designed to crash. It's one of the two moving parts in your computer. So it's going to fail. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. So knowing that your hard drive is going to crash, you're going to make a backup of it. You have, more than likely, fire insurance on your house, and the reason you buy the fire insurance on your house is because you're afraid your house might go on fire. If you didn't, you wouldn't have it, or you have a mortgage and you're forced to, whatever. If your house burned down and your backup device was in your house, your backup device would also be gone. So storing your backups in your house is not a good idea. Storing it in your car might not be a good idea because your car might get into an accident. So again, a secure offsite location. Putting it in your car gets stolen, now someone's got your backup of all of your personal information. So those are the kinds of things that you want to keep track of. Corporations, all I have to do is say 9/11, and you should get the idea of why backups are so important. There were companies that simply went out of business after 9/11 because all of their data was stored in the Twin Towers, and they were all gone. So, suffice to say, database management systems have backup facilities if they're worth anything, and you need to make use of those backup facilities. There are also journalizing facilities, which means you need to be able to keep track of transactions associated with the database. There has to be an audit trail. I have to be able to go back and say when this happened and who did it, and that is usually done with what's known as a transaction log, which is a record of all the transactions processed against the database. Typically, the SQL command that was issued to make the change, not necessarily the data, although the data can be included. Typically, it's just the SQL. There's also a database change log, which will keep track of and make images of updated data. So we have before images and after images, all of which, when you put it all together, produces what's known as an audit trail. So how does the audit trail work? You got a transaction that's processed against the database management system. That transaction can go to the current database, which then should go to the database backup. A copy of that transaction is held in the transaction log. A copy of the database, the piece or part of the database affected by the transaction, goes into the database change log. And then if there's any kind of recovery action, the recovery action goes against the database management system and utilizes the current database, the backup of the database, the transaction log, and the change log to actually recover the database, which we'll talk about more in a future video lecture. And then the last part is the checkpoint facilities, which really handles the periodicity of events that happen. So from time to time, the database management system stops accepting new transactions. The system is put into what's known as a quiet state, and then the database and all its transaction logs are synchronized. So the idea would be input-output is expensive, takes a lot of time. So instead of writing changes immediately to the database system, they're left in the transaction log, and then from time to time, the information from the transaction log is loaded into the database management system. This way, the database management system isn't constantly getting inundated with transactions. This is the end of the video lecture. I know this is a little bit long, associated with database recovery.